Night Vision. Following clues left by our ancestors, we unbury the past to reveal a knowledge of unfathomable value, putting us just a little closer to our own true birthrights. From the secret history of a possible bloodline of Jesus Christ, the secret history of America's founders, to the secret history of extraterrestrial interaction on our planet, here to bring light to the night. Your host for Night Vision Radio, Renee Barnett.
Welcome to Night Vision, or welcome back if you've been here before. So glad that you could join us tonight. I've got a great show planned. Not going to take a lot of time up front doing housekeeping measures, because I want to get right into the show, because this is something that we can all use and all benefit from, especially people that are listening to this show who have interests in the field of UAPs or UFOs or whatever we're calling them these days. But I'd like to introduce Alejandro Rojas from Enigma Labs, and we're going to talk about exactly what they're doing over at Enigma.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for joining me. I was really excited when you accepted the invitation. So what we're talking about today is the new app that you have for reporting UFO activity or sightings. Can you explain what it does just a bit?
Yeah, the app, when you open it up, it's pretty robust, actually. When you first open it up, you see a globe, and it lists essentially all the sightings around the globe that we've collected. We have historical data from MUFON, NUFORC, other databases that have been public out there. And then we, of course, get our own sightings. And we've gotten thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of sightings on our own. In fact, formerly, I have been a spokesperson with MUFON. I've been writing about this field for a long time. In fact, for over 10 years, I've been a full-time employee with some company or other covering this field. And I can say solidly that we're collecting reports more than have ever been collected before. We're getting at least 50 to a couple hundred a day. So we're getting a lot of reports. And what's great about this is because it's an app and it's app-based, a lot of those sightings are video sightings. And one of the things that we found, just because previously, they're web-based applications, and it's not necessarily easy to post your video. So doing it kind of more like social media, where it's kind of more video oriented, we found a lot of people are sharing videos, and we found that a lot of people previously were not sharing their videos. Mostly they were showing a friend or two, saving the video on their phone, but not really sharing it otherwise. So now we've got a lot more people sharing those videos, and some of them are great. So but the app also does more than that. So you can look at other sightings. You can read about sightings. We have a library of the great cases, and those are icons also. So cases like Phoenix Lights or Nimitz or Rendlesham, those type of very popular ones. You can get very well-sourced documents or articles on those sightings on the website. And then also we have more tools. So one of the big things that we're trying to do also is, you hear from NASA, for example, and their science panel saying, we really need to harness the technology in our hands, the phones, and we're doing that. So we have a camera option on there. You'll notice in our camera option, it'll show you location. It'll show you the tilt of the phone. It'll show you the direction that the phone is being pointed in. It grabs all of that data so we know more about the sighting than just what's in the video. And then we also have another tab called the Identify tab. If you click that one, right in your hand, you've got one tool where you can see all the aircraft, all the satellites, all of the planets and the stars. You'll see icons for them, and you can highlight them, and it'll give you more information about them. So you can be sure that what you're looking at isn't like a Starlink satellite or something, which of course are fooling a lot of people because we've got so much up there. So it's a very robust tool that you'll have right there in your hand, and it's free. Currently, it's for the Apple phone, so you can go to the Apple store and just look for Enigma, and you'll get it. and we're working on Android, so hopefully we'll have that out soon. If you don't have either of those, or if you don't have, Apple currently, we do have the website where you can go to the Explore tab and look at all the different stats and different sightings and videos that we're getting in.
And can you upload a sighting or video on the website then?
You can use the website to submit your sighting as well.
Wow. And like, what are you seeing currently in activity? Is it largely in the West or?
Yeah, we have ran some numbers, especially for an Economist article that we were in recently. Right now, we are so busy, like with maintaining the app and growing it. This is one thing that we found, and I think I found even working with the nonprofits. The hard part is you need a whole staff of full-time people to run an app. Some of the other organizations out there have ran across database problems because it's really a tough thing to do. So we do have kind of a scrappy, smaller team really focused on the app, keeping it up, making upgrades, getting a lot of interaction from users and feedback so we can make sure the app is stable and something that people want. But so we haven't spent a lot of time analyzing ourselves, but also part of the point is letting people get in there and crowdsource that. So people commenting, saying, hey, I did some research and I found out your sighting is this or that, to help people. But we have done some analysis, and we found, what's been found throughout the years. I run the website openminds.tv. Really, it's mostly archival. I'm not putting a whole lot of articles up there, but some new kind of interviews. But for years, I would get data and then look for where the hotspots are. And the Southwest has always been a hotspot. But something that we found, which is interesting, is New Mexico. For the sightings that we've retrieved, New Mexico per population has more sightings than other states. So we found that really interesting.
That is.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, you have any theories about why that might be?
It's hard to say. So
because
in the South,
larger areas that are not as populated.
That'll probably be a factor in that it doesn't have as much of a population. So when the more sightings they put in, then that'll be a factor. However, in the Southwest in general, Arizona, Colorado, those have been high on the list. I think it's because they're places there's a lot of military bases out in the Southwest. But there's also clearer skies and more people outside to be able to look for objects. So I think that's one of the factors. That would be true of New Mexico as well. But, I haven't seen like necessarily big flaps or big incidents that have been reported in particular in New Mexico. So it's something we really got to drill down in that I found really interesting and different than what I've seen in the past.
That's interesting. So I remember like years ago when we were having these big UFO flaps in certain areas. So what you're saying is we're not necessarily seeing that now.
Yeah, I haven't ran across any. Now, in the Daily Mail, we did have an article there where we got a bunch of interviews or videos from the Southwest. These were in Nevada, Arizona, California. But we were able to do some analysis, or at least I did myself with my buddy Ben Hansen, who I work with. And we essentially found it was likely the second stage of a SpaceX rocket. So that's the other thing that we're finding. We're getting a ton of videos of Starlink and SpaceX rockets because the activities SpaceX are doing in the sky, are unprecedented. They're launching rockets, on a weekly basis, at least, sometimes a daily basis. There's Starlink stuff, the Starlink satellites, there are thousands of them up there, and they look really odd. They look odd to pilots in the sky. And, from the ground, you'll see a whole train of these satellites. They look really odd. That. And then the rocket blast, because they use kind of a different kind of propellant that has some kind of ash in it that makes this big, huge, what they're calling sky jellyfish. These big things. And so that is definitely it's kind of causing an issue because a lot of the sightings that, now these days, when you see something weird in the sky, there are more weird things in the sky. It's just because we're doing a lot more weird stuff in the
Yeah.
sky.
I remember one evening I was coming home from dinner, and I live in the Los Angeles area, and I
Mhm.
got out of the car with my friend, and I looked up, and there was this long trail of
Yeah.
lights, waving its way, in the sky over my house. And it just like took my breath away for a moment because I thought I was seeing something. And then I took a picture, and my friends said, "No, that's just Starlink." And then I looked at a lot of other Starlink videos and
Mhm.
photos, and yeah, it was. I
Yeah,
was,
it's really funny out here in Arizona. We see them here too. They look huge, even though they're launched out of California. And there have been like 3 times now where I go to the grocery store, probably because it's after work, about 6 or 7 or something, and I see these on the way to the grocery store. So the timing's just right. And unfortunately, the grocery store has all these people outside buzzing, and I've got to burst their bubble and say, actually, that's a rocket, guys. And
yeah,
there's some of them who definitely seemed bummed. They think we're being invaded.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's pretty interesting, but yeah, I think it can also be obscuring things that we might want to see.
Right. And it does make it more difficult because that, along with drones, there's so many of them in the sky, and they're so often misidentified for something unusual that it's easy for the public or skeptics or debunkers to say, oh, that was probably a drone. Oh, that was probably a rocket. And not necessarily give it a harder look when actually it's something more odd.
Yeah, yeah. Now, can I ask you, have you ever had your own personal experience or sighting that has kind of driven this interest for you?
Well, that's interesting because when I got involved with this, it was more of a kind of journalistic curiosity. I was a journalism student, ran across a enthusiast who was annoying to me because they wouldn't shut up about UFOs and all these people who thought it was credible. But that person got through to me because I started looking more into it. And I was like, hey, this guy's right. There are a lot of stories not being told. And as a journalism student at the time, I was really compelled to cover this. It wasn't until maybe 10 years later that I had my first unusual sighting. I probably had maybe three, not a lot, maybe more, 3 or 4. It's just the ones that I've had are not that terribly exciting. They're objects at a distance. But
Mhm.
my first one was at the UFO Skywatch in Hooper, Colorado. And I was going out there because they allegedly get a lot of sightings, and I wanted to get, to see what it was like. And of course, being kind of someone who writes about this topic, it was kind of a must do since I was living in Colorado at the time. I really hit it off with the lady, Judy, who is running the place. So when we got there, I was inside just yapping it up with her, and it started getting dark. And I heard my sister say, hey, I think I see a satellite. But I could tell in her voice that she wasn't confident in that and that it was something strange. So I quickly went outside. We all did. And there was a very bright light just east of Hooper, Colorado, are the Great Sand Dunes and the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. And this light was just cruising along above the mountains. Definitely not a satellite, definitely too low to be a satellite, very bright. And then it kind of just faded out when it got directly east to us, which was kind of very strange kind of behavior. Some people said they kind of felt like it made a jogging. To me, it kind of like got brighter and dimmer and brighter and dimmer until it dimmed out. So we all had different impressions of what happened when it left. And what was really weird is that we were really excited. This was about dusk. We were really excited about it. So we're all talking about it. Soon after, probably within half an hour, it was completely dark out. And I noticed a satellite to the northwest and then one to the southwest. But they were both moving east, and they were both moving kind of, one was moving, southeast, the other northeast, east, and they crisscrossed right over where our sighting was, which is weird behavior for satellites. I just called them satellites because they were moving slow and steady in one direction, but that was really odd.
Yeah. Now, where that was in Colorado?
Correct. Hooper, Colorado, at the UFO Watchtower, which is still there.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was at least 20 years ago.
Yeah. Outside the United States, have you noticed any trends in
You
any
know
other
what?
countries that get a little bit more
Not
sightings than others?
necessarily. I mean, what we're finding, because we do get sightings internationally and we've tracked them internationally, but of course because we're mostly English focused, mostly the English speaking countries, so we're getting a lot of UK, Australia, Canada, those type of places, Scotland,
Yeah.
Ireland. So we're getting all of those sightings. We do get some from other countries occasionally. We just recently got a German one. Actually, we shared on our social media a couple days ago. But we are trying to integrate some translation services, and we're doing more outreach with international media to try to get more attention and more sightings from internationally.
Oh yeah, that would be really
Yeah.
cool.
Fortunately, we got an article in Belgium News, a big Belgium media outlet recently, and that spread out there pretty big. So we got more sightings from out there. So we're trying to have more of a global reach.
Oh, that's really cool. I spent a lot of time over in this one little area of southern France,
Mm,
and there's a mountain there where people constantly claim to see UFOs going in and out of
wow.
it. And it's called Mount Bugarash, and it actually was the inspiration for Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Really
And it was also the original inspiration to Steven Spielberg for Close Encounters. And
interesting.
it was too expensive to bring everybody over and shoot there. So they ended up at the Devil's Tower
Hmm.
here in the United States. But
Yeah.
there's been so many, it was, that area is supposed to be the inspiration for Lewis Carroll's Through the Looking Glass or Alice in Wonderland, because
Mm,
there's so many strange occurrences and things like that. But was speaking with someone yesterday who's actually British, so English speaking. He's in England, and he got some footage, I think, of a UFO uh, in that region recently. So maybe I should have him send it to Enigma.
yeah, definitely. The more the merrier. I mean, it's really important that we record that data and information. So, like you've been mentioning, we can do those trends and do that analysis. And
Yeah.
then also, have when researchers are looking and doing their work, they might be able to correlate, a sighting with one that they've had and start to figure things out. And that's what's going to be really important, I think, in this day and age, and in my experience, you can only rely on yourself for information. There's a lot of people, especially these days, trying to get information elsewhere, and you just don't get it. It's not coming. So that's why I've always liked to be in groups like these UFO researching groups. I was a board member for SCU and helped found that organization. And, just kind of got to roll up your sleeves and do the work yourselves, gather that data, do that analysis. And that's, when we can get the evidence our own and present that, that's what's going to be most compelling. And we don't have to rely on anyone else, especially these days with the technology getting cheaper and smaller and more accessible. We've just got to use our phones, do whatever we can to gather that data and, demonstrate on our own without having to rely on any other organization.
And when you report a sighting on the app, what is it that you're actually doing? Are you giving like your own analysis? Are you saying, okay, this happened at 4:00 p.m.?
Yeah, great
Pacific
question.
time?
So what we do is we first ask where the location is, and we do allow people to make the location anonymous. So in other words, let's say you say it's 123 Main Street in Phoenix, Arizona. But if you say I don't want the direct location shown, then we'll just show Phoenix, Arizona.
Right.
Um, just because people might not want their exact address being
Yeah.
in there, which is, and then we'll ask them, for a description. We do allow people, if they don't want to write out their description, they can click the microphone and do an audio
Oh, that's
description.
helpful. Yeah.
Yep. That way people will be able to listen to it, but we also go in there and transcribe it so people can either read or listen to your description.
Wow.
From there, we get into what we call structured data. So these are the questions that we need answers to. So we'll ask specifically, what was the shape? What was the color? How far away did it look? Little bit of information about the user. Are you military or a pilot? Were there any other sensors that you were able to use? That currently there's not a lot of people using radar or infrared or something like that, but there are some. So once in a while we'll get that, and of course we in the future we want to encourage people to use other sensors and things like that. So that's when we'll ask kind of specific questions, and then we'll get to the end where we'll let them know what's the best way to contact them. But we do allow people to remain anonymous if they want to. So we won't share their name and information. But we do like to contact people because once we post it, we'll send people a link. And then that link will open up either on the website, or if they have the app, it'll open up on the app and they'll be able to see their sighting posted on the website.
Wow.
And, we have gotten, because there's always this sort of thing, people accusing people of hiding information or anything, but anybody can try to submit their sighting and they'll see very quickly. We try to get back to you within 10 minutes, but we manually look at every sighting before we post it to make sure there isn't like sensitive information you've accidentally put in there. We don't want people's emails and stuff like that out there. So we'll look at them first, and we will make sure hoaxes don't go through, or jokes that are not real ones. But then you'll see
Are
your
you interested
posting.
in reports of sightings where no video or photographic evidence exists, that they're
Yeah,
just
we've
recorded?
still got a lot of those.
Okay.
So there are, I think right now we're at about 40% come with a video or picture, which is
That's pretty
great. I
good.
mean, a huge number, but we still accept those that don't. And some of those are great too, because what I have found is when people don't have a photo or a picture, they give us a better description, which I love. And then you have a great narrative there. And it's unfortunate, and I'm trying to encourage people, and we need to do more of this, is if you have a video or a picture, don't rely on that. Still give us a story. Let us know, when did you first see it? When did you see it go away? What were some of the characteristics in your own words? So we
Yeah.
want those bigger narratives, because some people will say, oh, just look at the video or just look at the picture. Well, that's great, but we need more information than that. We want to
Yeah.
hear what your experience was.
Yeah. Yeah. And is there room in the reports for any sensations or anything that the observer might have felt or not felt, or
Yeah.
whether they felt like they were being directly communicated with or spotted by the UFOs?
Yeah, that's really this description where you can put more of those type of things, and people do. So yeah, people have let us know those kind of details,
Yeah.
that should they have those.
Yeah, like how did that make you feel, or did you, feel any odd sensation? Because a lot of times people will say they felt an electrical uh, field or something around them, or certain things would happen and everything would get really quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And some things are, not observable with the eye, but through other senses and other sensations. So,
Right.
this is all really, really exciting because it could be, once and for all, we've got a great central data collection uh, place that we can all look at and learn from. It's really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited about getting these videos because so far, a lot of them we're able to explain them as rockets or SpaceX and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or, sometimes they're kind of interesting, just not interesting enough to be sure. But we've got at least a couple that are really interesting. We had one in New York that a lady saw from an aircraft that got into the news and made kind of a lot of news. But we did our own analysis. We actually got a couple researchers to look at this for us. Ben Hansen and Dr. Doug Buettner with SCU. They did determine it was probably a balloon because they weren't able to rule that out. We did a Twitter Spaces on that with a witness in them. So we might have figured that one out, but there's a couple others. One out of Washington that I have been working with some ball lightning scientists to try to get them some more information because it looks like this plasma orb. And even more exciting, I featured on my podcast, irregular kind of podcast that I started up, where it's over Signal Mountain in Tennessee, and it's really hard to explain. I think that this might be our first one where it's going to go down as unidentified, which is a good thing because that means that we can explain what it is.
Is
Just
that
make
one
some
on the
weird
website
movements.
right now?
It is on the website. In fact, for
Okay.
the listeners, I'll let you know it's Enigma number 282353.
282-353.
Yeah, I'll send you the link to the sighting because if you have that number, you can look it up. But you also, all the links are the same. They're enigmalabs.io/sighting/the Enigma number, which is 282353. And that way you can look at any sighting using that formula. But yeah,
Right.
this is a great one. Really, really interesting. Cannot explain this. So
What
far, no
how
one
does it
can give me
appear
an
to
answer.
you? What do you see there?
What's it look like?
Yeah.
Yeah, it essentially is this guy's got a camera set up, and it's not the best quality security camera, but it's looking out over his house, and there are it's framed by a couple trees, one on the left and one on the right. And at first, you see a star field. The total video is about 10 minutes, even though the sighting itself is about 5 minutes, which is long for a sighting. And what I love about this is you see a bunch of stars, and then you see something come in from the bottom right, moving towards the center. At very first glance, it just looks like a satellite because it's just one luminous light. But then it quickly turns up and goes more straight up. And then it pauses for a few seconds. Then it moves up again and it pauses for 2.5 minutes just sitting there. And what I love about this is for 2.5 minutes, it's one solid light that looks just like any of the other stars, which is really interesting to me. One of the things that makes that interesting to me is that if this is something anomalous, um, that it can easily cloak itself just by sitting there and
Yeah.
looking like a star. We don't know what it is. But after 2.5 minutes, it moves across the screen to the left, almost all the way off the screen, but then quickly turns around and kind of flares up, gets bright, turns around, goes back on itself, moving back across the screen and then exiting the screen on the right. So it's a long time, definitely anomalous movement. Doesn't move like you would expect any aircraft to move or a drone. It's really a head scratcher. Cannot figure this one out.
Did you say that it was taken out of a plane window?
No, this one was from a security camera, and it was
Oh,
in the IR mode.
oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, great video. Really interesting. In
That
fact, I know here I can share it to you personally in our little chat here, I think.
Can you get it? Can you put it on the screen?
I could, yeah. If you want me to share the screen, I can do that.
I would love for you to do that if you know how.
I do. Okay, so let me do that.
That'd
All
be
right.
exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited to do that to share with people what it looks like because I love this video and this is what gets me really excited. And this is why I keep saying we don't have to wait for government or anything. If government's not going to share anything, fine, we don't need them.
No.
We'll do this ourselves.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to ever come from the government. Yeah,
Let's see. I think
they've been keeping it quiet too long or trying to.
Yeah, here it is. So there's a sighting there. It's kind of a smaller window. If you go to the website, and again, the URL, enigmalabs.io/sighting/282-353. I will, the video's already playing here.
I'm gonna
But
try
it's about 1 minute and 40 seconds. So let me forward it. And you'll see the object entering in the bottom right down here.
Okay.
And you'll see it's moving up, starts to turn. And that's what got me excited because, a satellite's not going to turn. And
No.
until then, you thought it was maybe a satellite. There's a lot of points that get excited. And then right here, it stops for about 10 seconds, just sits there. And then it moves up again. Now it's moving up. And it's just kind of moving slowly. And that's another thing. It doesn't move at a consistent speed. But it moves slowly till it gets about to the middle of the screen here. And it stops again. Right here. So it stops.
So it's just that little.
This little dot right here.
Oh, okay.
So, and because it's little, it seems like it's far from the screen. But it sits here for 2.5 minutes. And this is the part where you have these other two stars here. And it's kind of making a triangle there from the appearance from this angle. And it's just sitting there. So if you were to walk outside and look up at the sky, you would think, oh, there's just a bunch of stars up there. Yeah. There's nothing weird. Little do you know that this little guy right here is not a star. So if I fast forward this a couple minutes, because it sits there for a couple minutes. Oops, I went too far.
Oh, there it went.
Yeah, I went too far there. So let me back up.
That's interesting.
And
so this is from a security camera, you're saying?
Correct. And we are in contact with the witness. That's the good part because
who noticed it?
The witness. So the witness reviewed his video. Luckily, he goes and does that. And he was able to see that there was something strange here.
What's crazy, though, is I think
there it goes. So now it's starting to move again, and it's moving to the left across the screen. So we'll let it go and do that while we talk. But it does this. It moves across, and you'll see once it gets about right over here, it gets bright and then turns around.
It's cruising right now.
Yeah.
Wow, that is... I'm just not sure if I had been reviewing this security footage that I would have even
spotted that.
Yeah, because I'm so bad.
Turns out he did this because he had other sightings. So he was looking for UFOs.
Oh, okay. So he was already looking through the footage for anything anomalous.
Yeah. And so this is great. This is a great lesson for people out there. If you're seeing weird stuff, set up a camera and maybe like this, you'll catch it on camera. And then all of us can benefit from that. And, even if it's determined there's not enough data to say for sure what this is, it's weird. And it's very inspiring that, hey, there really are weird things up in the sky,
Definitely.
So now it's gone. And what is that? What I think is interesting is a lot of people focus on the what we're not hearing or their disappointments. But if you look at the silver lining on the positive, we heard from the government. And remember, I spoke with Lou Elizondo a lot. There was a period of time where I was speaking to him almost daily. And he, of course, was the guy who first came out and said he was working on with the Pentagon on these sightings. And he was saying this is disclosure. Disclosure was that we do have UAP. UFOs are a real thing. The government admits to it. They admit there's a problem and that they need to pay attention to it. Further, what we did hear from Sean Kirkpatrick, who is running Arrow, the Pentagon project, is that they are having issues where they're having these metallic orbs that they've seen, and they don't know what they are, and that they seem to be able to come into secured airspace and leave at will. That's very important. And because everybody's like, tell me about aliens, I want to hear about aliens, they totally miss that point.
Yeah.
And this, what we just saw, is an example of what he's talking about. If we don't know what they are, it takes more research, it takes more data. This guy had a very cheap camera that he recorded this with. If he had a better camera, if he had more sensors, we'd be able to get more scientific data about what that was, and we may be able to determine what it is, whether it be alien or otherwise, but we'd be finally able to prove what it is. And that's, I think, the future of this field and where we've got to move to. And that's what gets me really excited about working with Enigma and gathering this sort of data.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely needed, and it's exciting. What
I'm not going to wait for the government. I've been waiting for 25 odd years that I've been in this field, and nothing has come of any of this. So I'm not going to sit around and wait. I'm going to keep working for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we got to do it ourselves. And you know, the people that are having the sightings are the ones that have all the data. So if we can get people to report their information, then we'll all have a lot more knowledge about this phenomenon and what it may or may not be.
Mm-hmm.
Now, has Enigma or you taken any kind of a position on what you think most likely this is? Is it extraterrestrial? Is it interdimensional or something?
No on both cases. So Enigma definitely has not taken a position. UAP are just that, unidentified.
Yeah.
And their point is that we're gathering data with the phone and gathering information to try to make that determination. And I agree with that stance. And that is my personal stance as well, in that, you know, either as a scientist, I'm not a scientist, but of course I've helped with the set up the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies. But beyond that, I've also, as a journalist, freelancing, I've worked with a lot of scientists and done science writing. However, I am a journalist, and the same goes true for journalists. You can't, it's wrong or dangerous to make assumptions because you don't want to set up a bias. It's best to gather the data, gather the facts, and then make the determination. Same goes true of law enforcement. So we're still in the fact gathering area. I definitely would not want to say it's aliens because I can't say that for sure. Once we can prove that, then we'll have that. But what if it's not? What if it's people from the future? What if it's completely multidimensional, someone from another dimension? What if it's another society or civilization here? And then the tough question that the government has to tackle is, what if this is an enemy? What if this is a human terrestrial technology from the Russians or the Chinese? And it's hard to say. It definitely is not until you can prove otherwise. And that's kind of their position. Hey, we can't prove it's not Russian or Chinese, so it would be irresponsible of us to share that with the public. So they are in a bit of a rough spot there. That's why it's like, okay, well, you do your thing and we'll do ours. People get mad at me when I say, you know, they've got a position on this. Why aren't you saying it's aliens? Because I don't have proof of that. And if you think it's that, prove it. And they get mad at me. And I don't really understand that because I'm telling myself that I've got to prove it before I say that. So I've
That's
got
right.
to hold myself to that standard as well. And that's what I'm trying to do is gather that data to prove it. And you shouldn't be upset with that position either, because if you're confident 100% it's aliens, then what I'm doing by gathering data to prove what's going on, I'm going to prove you right. Uh,
Right.
if that's the case. So you should be happy that we're doing that, what we're doing.
The facts will support it if that's what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's interesting that you get a little pressure, a little pushback on that. And I mean, I think I would be more wary of the whole situation if you did say you knew what it was, because I wouldn't believe you. I don't think
Right.
we yet know what it is. But
Yeah.
what about people who feel that they've had some sort of uh, abduction experience?
Yeah, that's a
You
real
frightened
difficult
of that?
area. In that there are thousands, tens of thousands. There are a lot of people. The public don't realize how many people I think who are claiming or believe they've had these experiences.
Yeah,
Um, so I do think it's something to be taken serious. Can we say with just that information that it's happening? No. Uh, the other hard part is that, you know, if people are being taken out of their homes, it's not being witnessed or anything else happening outside of that. That's why people like John Mack thought perhaps it's a non physical experience. But I don't think we can
right,
also say that these experiences aren't happening in some manner. So I
right.
do believe it needs to be taken seriously. It needs to be studied some more, again, so we can figure that out. I think it's a bit tougher. I've worked with a lot of people who believe they've had these experiences, and the best I can typically do is send them to a therapist who is open to listening to their stories and making them feel better, because it can be really traumatic. These
Yeah,
people, um, seem to genuinely have, experienced something traumatic, and they need um, a way to be able to live with it and move on. And I think that's what's really important, and that we have to not forget is the human side. And sometimes people are further traumatized by people in this field kind of, oh my gosh, you're the evil aliens are trying to use you to take over the
right.
planet or any of this other stuff. That's not going to help someone. Um,
Yeah,
so it's a difficult one. It's a tough one, and I think we do need a lot more mental health professionals
yeah,
getting involved, not just to help people cope with it or brush it off, but to also do some real work to figure out what's going on.
yeah. I have to say I was involved in a lot of that research. Been eons ago now, it seems like, but uh, I was one of the founders of a group called Zero Close Encounters
Mm,
Research
yeah.
Organization, which I believe still exists
Yep.
as an international organization now. But I did find that, people did have some unexplainable occurrences going on. But also, I did see, I felt like people were being sort of encouraged in whatever, like, possible mental disorder they might have. And this sort of gave them something to explain away, all that weirdness they were feeling. Of course, it's not me, it's aliens. But I did see that there were people that um, probably were having some other issues that needed to be attended to by real
Yeah.
mental health professionals, which I was not.
Yeah,
Uh,
I agree with you. I actually got a certificate. It took, months, but I got certified as a hypnotherapist to
I
kind
did
of,
too.
yeah, kind of, and you maybe found the same thing, that for therapy, it's really helpful because
Yeah,
you can walk someone to and have them manifest a non-real reality for them,
yeah,
a fantasy essentially, where they're able to express their emotions and get past whatever is happening to them emotionally that they want to get past. But when you're doing a regression, you're doing the same thing. The mind is creating these mindscapes that just don't exist. And it's impossible to say what you're getting back, whether it exists or not, especially when you start to do these regressions or hypnotherapy and you find out it's so easy for the mind. I mean, you probably found the same thing almost every time you bring someone out of regression. They're like, oh my gosh, I don't know where my brain came up with that stuff. I
Yeah.
don't know how. That's so weird. And they're blown away themselves. But yeah, to your point, and also it just shows how a lot of the research that's been done in this field has been really off base. In that, for example, having people fill out forms to prove whether or not they're having alien experiences,
Right.
because that alone, the brain and the person's going to want to please
Memory
you.
hardening. Memory hardening.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
And
So
there's
you really
also
need
the
professionals.
idea that in hypnosis, I mean, confabulation is absolutely a huge possibility, and also the idea for anyone going under hypnosis, it they want to please the hypnotherapist. That's just the way it works. And
Exactly.
if they know that the hypnotherapist is researching alien intervention of some kind, then that's largely what they're going to come up with. Or that's the
Exactly.
danger. I'm not saying every time, but that the danger is that just because of the very nature of hypnosis, that they'll give the therapist what they think the therapist wants. And
Exactly.
so it's just not as good of a research tool. Like you said, maybe therapy. Yeah, I can see that, taking someone through a situation that was traumatic and sort of having them see it in a different way, or to
Mhm.
at least get rid of the trauma from it. But yeah, to find out information, I don't think so.
I agree with you 1,000% for the exact reasons you just outlined right there. Um, and it's very well documented. Like you've also obviously done the research where, yeah, they want to please the person they're talking to. So you've got to be able to mitigate those things. And there are ways to do it, but it's really difficult. And you need
Yeah.
professionals who understand all these mechanisms and how this all works to
And
be
who
able
also
to do that.
understand the possible other explanations in terms of medical or mental
Right.
health,
Right.
because I just feel like a lot of people sort of get mishandled in this field because they're getting some attention on what their problem is, but they're not getting the uh, correct thing. And no, not trying to diss anybody out there, but
Yeah.
that's just what I found personally, and I couldn't, in good conscience, continue to use that method to try to get information about people's
Right.
experiences.
Yeah, I'm probably like you. I went into this not knowing any of this. I went into this just like, well, how does this work? Would I be able to learn to be able to make that determination as to what's real and what's not? And unfortunately, I found out that it's just much less reliable than I had even thought, going into it.
Yeah, yeah, and so you said you do take those accounts on,
We
and
don't. We don't take entity accounts.
oh,
We
okay,
just take sightings. We're
okay,
not tackling that issue right now.
yeah,
Um,
that
for
would
us,
be,
it's kind of a first steps. Let's deal with these things that are being seen and hopefully recorded first.
yeah,
Uh, and that's what we're focused on. And the phone can do that, and that's kind of the basis of the company is utilizing the technology that is right there in your phone. And unfortunately, the phone isn't going to be the best tool for your potential abduction experience. You'll want to go to groups like Zero or others who take it seriously and can help you do more that way.
yeah, yeah. So I've got your website address, enigmalabs.io, scrolling across the screen. If any of you out there listening or watching or both,
Yeah.
and have your own sighting, please report it to Enigma Labs and help us build this database that's going to be good for us all.
Exactly. Yeah, and on there you can look at go to the Explore tab, and that's where you're going to find all the data and information. And we have a lot of really good articles in our library on very credible cases as well, because that's another thing we can't forget. And I think that the government hasn't done a very good job with is highlighting that Blue Book, for example. There were 700 cases that they tried to debunk their hardest and they could not. And those are really good cases. And there's a lot of other really good cases out there that are the type of material that really motivate so many of us to keep looking, because we know something's going on.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I saw the Cash Landrum case on there.
Yep, Cash Landrum.
I mean,
Yeah,
to me,
big ones.
it's like, oh my gosh, that was so terrible. They
Yeah,
suffered with so many physical ailments and things after
yeah.
their exposure to radiation or whatever it was from this incident. And it's like they still couldn't get the attention that they deserved and needed on this case.
Yeah. Yeah, a couple others we have on there that I'm really proud of. A lot of them that I'm really proud of, but are right up on nuclear facilities, and
Like
UAP is really
Rendlesham and
interesting.
others.
Yeah, Rendlesham and others, but we also, highlight how the CIA and the Army were the ones back in the Blue Book days who raised that alarm. They were the ones that were saying, "Hey, we're getting these incursions over our most secured airspace. So for nuclear facilities and nuclear weapon storage areas, this is a big deal and we need to pay attention." So it wasn't, UFO researchers that were the first to say this is a thing. It
Right.
was the military and the CIA themselves.
Wow. And we're all these years later, I imagine that was quite some time ago. We're all these years later and they're still not really
Yep.
further down the road, at least
Yeah.
for the end of things.
Right. And another thing, we do hear a lot about drones and drone incursions, but it does go hand in hand in that people who were trying to push the government into looking at this were saying, look, there are a lot of things flying over our bases and we're not paying attention. And in some cases, just because someone thinks it's a UFO, it could be a drone, and we're not paying attention because we're like, oh, UFO, that's silly.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's a drone and it's low technology that an enemy could be using, and so that does make them pay more attention. And the SCU, there's a gentleman who wrote a paper, and you can see it there on their website, who did an analysis on the drones that were being reported. And a large percentage of those, large, I mean by something like 15-20% of these alleged drone incidents, the characteristics of the object reported fall outside of what drones can do. So what were those? So even in looking at this, we're finding that, there are unidentified kind of reports in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Some are drones, but maybe some are not.
Right. Some of them are going faster. They're flying higher. They're further away. They're doing things that drones can't do. So of course, the big question is, what are those?
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of drones, I've heard stories. I don't know how credible, but that UFOs have been seen around, over Ukraine, over the fighting, over the nuclear facility there, their energy facility. Have you seen or heard anything coming from that part of the world?
I've heard a lot, but and this is where it makes it really difficult with the proliferation of drones,
Yeah,
especially in that
tons of drones over there.
conflict. I mean, I think the world all of our eyes have been opened to this new world of drone technology and what it can do. And in this case, it's played a huge role obviously in the war. We've all seen in social media these videos, these drone videos of
Yeah,
drones going in and attacking and taking out Russian positions or
yeah,
personnel. So it's fascinating. So when you've got all of this going on, it makes it even more difficult to figure out what it is in the sky. So it's really difficult. And again, until you can get some really good video or telemetry or data on a particular event, it's difficult to say.
yeah, yeah. And what about in the Middle East? What about in the areas of Israel and Gaza? Have we had any reported sightings?
Not that I'm aware of. I have not. I can't think of a good credible case. I can't think of any case actually. Middle East, we have had cases. In particular, there have had even more recently a case that came out from the DoD, but a lot of people, even very UFO friendly researchers, think that those are either balloons or smudge, but they just don't look like something unusual. So we haven't gotten any great one, although there have been at least one or two of these metallic orb situations that Kirkpatrick, the head of Arrow, the UAP group out of the Pentagon, have said they haven't been able to figure out yet. So um, who knows? A lot more work needs to be done on that. And
Yeah,
again, are we going to get the details on those incidents from the government? Probably not. So we're just going to have to do like that gentleman did in Signal Mountain, Tennessee, put up our own cameras and get our own video and
yeah.
data.
Well, this is great. I want to thank you for coming on,
My
and
pleasure.
also thank you for providing this service to the world, really, because we're going to be looking at the whole world and all the sightings. And I hope you can see that banner scrolling across the screen. It says enigmalabs.io. Go over there. You can download the app from there. Right now, it's available on IO and soon to be hopefully available on Android as well.
We're
All right,
working on it.
Alejandro, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well, we'll have to do this again at some point, and I'll have
For
to.
sure.
Yeah.
Give you some updates.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you.